of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming this evening. This time, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Kevin.
Second.
Second by Gary. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This time we have a moment for public comment.
I know on your agenda, I'm asking for a quick approval of the scoreboard for the football donation. So in September of 2014, I came forward and gave me permission to fundraise for the football scoreboard. Then, in that process of 2014 and 15, various things were done to raise some of the money. About $4,000 was able to be raised. And then in September of 2015, Mr. Chigalo approached me at a football game, offering what was left to fundraise if the Rushford State Bank could have their name right on the scoreboard as advertising. So since January of 2015, I've been able to raise $12,000 from that, counting Rushford State Bank. So at this point, I stopped fundraising because I felt that the goal was met. Today, in asking the Southeast Conference ADs about the advertising issue, other districts are selling ads for programs. If you ever go to Grand Meadow, it's all over their program. Some have it at scoreboards or fence lines of baseball and softball fields. And so others, surprisingly, also took notes because they are in the midst of needing to replace scoreboards, and it is a very expensive cost facing many tight athletic budgets. And so I'm asking you to accept this donation so that we can use it with Hurricane Pride, because there's nothing worse than a blinking scoreboard on a Friday night when there's 500 people there. And then in addition, the gift from the Houston County Dairy Association of $3,000 will be used to help with the gym renovation with a brand new scores table, which has fallen many times and is taped with duct tape ever since I think I've been here. And so again, please accept that gift of money so we can continue to have improvements and feel very proud of where we play and what we do. So thank you.
Money? I said money, that's a good thing, right?
No.
Huh? No. Thank
Root
you.
of all evil.
Okay, so moving on. Thank you. Consent items, do I have approval for the consent items? Motion. Motion by Joe.
Second.
Second by Ron. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion item. Long-term facility maintenance update.
Okay, Chris, who is our site superintendent now, and Mike will be coming down tomorrow to meet with me about some of the plans going forward. On the 17th, Chris is coming back to meet with the people from Lacrosse Glass. So Rick Bartz and I will be meeting with Chris and the Lacrosse Glass. It should not be that difficult to say, about the preschool windows. We need to make sure that there's still ventilation, but we don't want to have the spring thaw running in as we do now. And there's the structural project approval has gone in, so that we're sure that we've got the building checked for structural soundness, especially the high school building. When we rip off the front, we need to make sure that it is structurally sound. Still, we are assuming the vapor barrier is still there. The bid that you will be looking at today for the building front assumes that the vapor barrier is still there. However, in their core samples, they could not verify that. So that isn't something that's able to be verified until they pull that EFA system off and see what's left of that steel structural integrity of the front of the building. So that's, we needed that approved. That's within that project as well. And the contractor meeting has now been scheduled on March 21st. The Pat Weir from IEA was planning on being at the meeting tonight to ask, or to answer any other questions you might have about the abatement process. However, there was a death in his family, so he could not come tonight, nor could he come to the contractors meeting tomorrow. He does have the plan done without the timeline. The timeline is going to be based on the decision you make tonight in old business, letter A, the end of the year adjustment for the elementary school. Because in the bid process, it makes a big difference as to whether they start in May or whether they start in June. As he's done the plan, he realizes that to abate the elementary building, it's going to take 6 full weeks. It will take the full 2 weeks per floor to abate the building. So I knew that was a question you guys had as well. But he will be able to be here on March 21st for that meeting. But he, once again, he has not gone out for bid with that because he really can't until you guys make your plan as far as the end of the year. Any questions on the update?
I understand that there's no way to know what's behind the front of the building.
EVIS? Mhm.
But has anyone played out a worst-case scenario from a finance point of view? Like, what if we find it's crumbling? What's a potential cost to that, rather than us finding that out? I don't know, when we're already into it.
No, but there's, that's one of the contingencies, that in case parts need to be built, that is one of the contingencies that UNESCO's already got kind of in the hopper if necessary.
So are there funds available for that, or it would be an a change?
It would be a change, but then it would once again have to be, where can we take away to put it here? And so there would be some other types of robbing Peter to pay Paul, basically. But yeah, that's a very good question.
What time is that Monday meeting?
Monday meeting is at 11 a.m., so please attend if you can.
Is that 11 to 3 or something?
It's 11 to 3, and we are not breaking for lunch, so eat first. But if you can,
Who's supposed to be there?
all the contractors who are going to be working on the project will be there. Pat Weir from IEA will be there as far as the abatement. Chris Kulseth from UNESCO, Dan Bosch from UNESCO, Mike Fry from UNESCO, and I will be there, Todd will be there, Rick will be there, Andy will be there, and then any board member that wants to attend is more than welcome to attend as well.
So it's posted. And the meeting tomorrow?
Well, it's not
That's
posted
not
because it's not an
tomorrow.
official board meeting.
It's not an
Oh,
official
okay.
board meeting.
Meeting
It's-
tomorrow's been canceled.
Oh, that was.
Yes, all the contractors, without Pat Weir being here to answer those, the main part of the contractors meeting is to really come up with that specific timeline as far as where do you need the abatement people to be, where do you need the contractors to be. The contractors can't remove bolts from the ceiling because the bolts around the bolt has to be abated before they can remove the bolt. And so we need to orchestrate, but then the abatement people are expecting that, like on the second floor, there's ductwork in the ceiling. They're expecting most of that ductwork, except the bolts in the ceiling, to be removed so they can abate around it. Now, the ductwork was put up there without any abatement done. Oops, yeah. So that's Because then the question would be, well, why can't they remove those bolts? They've obviously put them in, wasn't it abated first? It was not. So we need to make sure, with this project, we need to make sure that everybody knows the timeline, everybody knows what job is theirs, the responsibility, and knowing who's going in when and where and what they're going to be doing, because everybody has to be working together. It's got to be coordinated. That's what this meeting's about. We're going to try to cover all of our bases. Now, granted, it's a construction project. Something is going to come up. If nothing comes up, I will be utterly amazed. You're going to find something you weren't expecting. That's kind of the rule of thumb with construction. But we are going to try to do everything we can to make sure that we have covered all of our bases before we go in there.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, thanks, Grant. Old business, items for discussion and approval, end of the year adjustment for the elementary school.
Okay. The last time we were here, we talked about the different options. You did move that the students would not be in the building once any abatement had begun. And so there's the option of having the students off-site starting May 23rd through May 27th and ending their year early through board action. So then those last 2.5 days are no longer days in session, but the teachers are on-site working on curriculum. Option 2 would be students are off-site May 23rd through June, the half day on June 2nd. And then we don't have to change the end of the school year for them. And we would find other locations with both of those. That first option, we would find alternate locations for May 23rd through May 27th. For the second option, we would find alternate locations from May 23rd through June 2nd. And then the other option that you brought up last time was waiting with abatement until June 6th and ending the year at the regular time. With that option, as I said, the abatement takes a full 6 weeks, which means that no construction could begin really until the middle to end of July at the beginning, which means we would be starting school late.
And when will the bids come back on this?
The bids come back on abatement, or the bids come
Yeah.
back? As soon as I let Pat know what your decision is, he will put it out for bids, and then if it's like the...
I thought we had to have that before we could make a decision.
He needs that so he
He
can put the
Needs
bid
that
specs
because of
in.
the timelines.
Because of the timelines, it matters as far as if a company is bidding it, if they're bidding in May, they give one value. If they're bidding it in June, they give another. In fact, if they're bidding in June, if they've already got other contracts in June, they might not have enough guys to bid it. And so that's the same as true with all contracts.
But we can't say you only have 4 weeks.
No, because the way the plan is written, it's going to take 6 weeks. That's, as that plan was devised, there was no other way for him to do it other than to say it's 2 weeks per floor, it's a 6-week project.
Which, I mean, I understand, but at the same time, I know that, there's no reason why you couldn't have 2 different crews working round the clock and get it done in less time. It will be more expensive, but it's obviously an option to get it done in less than 6 weeks if we're not in the building and somebody is willing to try to get it done quicker.
But not necessarily, Mimi. I mean, having been in construction at one time in my life, you just don't set up 2 crews when that's your busy season. So what I think Corinne was saying was that at some point there, when that's the busy season, they may not even bid because they can't provide the crews. And then doing crews that want to work through the night, not a lot of them either. So unless you're really willing to pay, I mean, I think it'd be way more expensive to do it that way. Yeah,
And you're
if
risking
they would
crews
bid,
that aren't as experienced.
possibly too.
You mentioned option one, the teachers would be on site for the last 2.5 years.
On site at the high school, we wouldn't have anybody at the elementary building. Yeah, good point, thank you.
Is there any assumption that since we are vacating the building and they can abate during the daytime, that that's financially a little better option than having them work at night?
Yes,
Okay.
it's working during the day is financially a better option for us. And the other thing is that the contractors, while abatement is going on, the contractors can have people in there working. And so if there's something that can be removed, like the ductwork from the building, they can be removing that ductwork as long as they're not disrupting any of the asbestos-covered material. And so we can have some of the contractors in there at the same time. So when that basement floor has been abated, contractors can get in there and then start removing the ductwork while they're abating on the main floor.
On scenario one where, I'm assuming there are locations where we can relocate, and that's been researched.
Yep.
And with scenario two, where we let kids out early but retain the teachers, are those locations still available? That we could teach through that process at like scenario one? I mean, I guess, why would we cut it short if we already have the sites and they're already going outside the school?
Right.
Why wouldn't we?
Well, there was no financial consequence to chopping off the 3 days, except it's an inconvenience for families potentially.
Mhm.
Well, and education, we've got 3 days of educating the kids. I mean, if they're already going to the site, as I'm saying, for the
Yeah.
first
I hear what
4 to
you're
5
Right.
days, to go an extra 3 days to that same site, I don't know. I guess I'm asking, is there some issue with that I don't see?
The teachers were wondering if they could keep the educational integrity with being off-site for that long, because it is a difference, and there are, they knew that they could come up with those educational activities for the 5 days for sure. But some were wondering whether or not they could sustain it for that extra 2.5 days. Because the last 2.5 days, the kids are squirrely to begin with. And they're squirrely when they're in a classroom where everything is as consistent as possible. So if you put them off-site where it's going to be different to begin with, and then they've got the last 2.5 days of just absolute, it's human nature.
So what are the teachers going to be doing this 2.5 days?
That would be the curriculum writing, curriculum development that they would have been doing in the summer, as far as like different stipends, making sure that the curriculum is all aligned, because they're supposed to be working with that in the summer. So instead of paying the staff development dollars for that curriculum development in the summer, then they would have the 2.5 days that they're already getting paid to be here, and they would have that time to do that curriculum and
So you're saving the
alignment.
money on that.
So the work that needs to get done will get done without having to tap into staff development funds.
Do you have any sense of how the inconvenience of families that have students where, I mean, I don't know how we would know that. We haven't made this decision yet.
No, we haven't, except we do have Hurricane Watch, and granted, Hurricane Watch won't be allowed to be in the elementary building at all, but we will find an alternate placement for that. And so on those 2.5 days, I've already talked to Rick Bartz about opening up Hurricane Watch during the day, so that those families that need that have that option.
Are they doing it at no cost, I'm assuming?
No, it would have to
You
be
can't-
a cost.
There would be
I'm
a
just
cost,
curious.
because we have to pay to staff it, so.
Were you guys going to have a plan advised on where people are gonna go?
Yes, but we need to know what's going on first before, we need to know what your decision is before we nail down the plan. Because if the plan is to be off-site for that full time, then there are some things that if we were just going the 5 days and then taking off those 2.5 days, then some of the field trip ideas would go into that last week. If we're going through that last week, then some of those field trips would have to get moved to the last week, and it really impacts the schedule as far as how we're going to do it. And so we need this decision made, and then we cross the Ts and dot the Is. We have found locations.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So with scenario one, we have some inconvenience primarily for the teachers in relation to the last 3 days. Okay, right?
Well, scenario one was,
Scenario 2 would be the...
scenario
Or do
two.
I have-
Scenario, yeah, you
Okay,
okay.
okay.
Scenario 1 would be the 5 days, 2.5 days off.
Okay, so,
Scenario two would
and
be
I
full.
understand that. But in the one where we have the 5 days and then we cut school short 3 days, the inconvenience then falls on the families that may not be prepared for that. And there is some cost associated with that, with them if they're gonna use the hurricane thing.
How much
Okay.
is Hurricane Watch a day? Is it $20? Does anybody know?
Yeah.
20?
So it'd be about $60 then for a
Well,
family for one.
they were expecting 2.5 days of school, so 2.5 days would be 50.
Well,
Well, we go around the room and ask if you guys want.
Well,
or we
I'll
just-
put a motion on the floor.
Okay.
We can vote it up or down, go to
Yeah,
the other one.
yeah.
So I'll move that we go to the 5 days off-site and the scenario one.
Scenario one.
Thank
2.5
you.
days off.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion on option 1. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ron. Discussion on it.
If we go with this, I'm not against this option. I think it's fine. But we really need to get it communicated to all the elementary people, the parents, right away. We also need to be very, very clear that the high school, the 7th through 12th grade still have school, and preschool, because preschool still have school. Just to make sure everybody knows that who has school, who doesn't, and that Hurricane Watch is available. And think through where Hurricane Watch will be, because if they're not in the elementary and there is preschool, they can't be in preschool. And I don't know when preschool ends, so.
Yeah, preschool ends before that last 2.5 days anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they could use that for
Mhm.
Okay, so any further discussion on it?
Sorry, the only other thing too, thinking about it as a parent is so we need to send that email out or letter out, but I think the other parental concern is just knowing where your kids are gonna be. So I think each class needs to,
Draw the information, yeah. I
you
think
know
the
your
plan-
kid's at the elementary, but is my kid in Winona? Is my kid at the nature
No,
center?
no.
Where's my
But then-
kid gonna be? So that if there's a reason I need to go get them or whatever, I know where they are. Just that concern over safety and just making sure they're.
And
know
for
where they are.
safety, the staff has asked to all stay in Houston. They didn't want to be bused elsewhere. And now we've got the secure entrances now with our buildings, and for this last week, we are giving up that secure entrance. So the parents will need to be aware of that as well. And so we'll make sure that we have everything planned and communicated, because in this case, I don't think we can overplan, and I don't think we can overcommunicate.
Okay.
Now that I've-
And yeah,
Well, now that I've put the motion on the floor, I should have done the respect of asking which scenario is your recommendation.
I think educationally speaking, scenario one is the best option for us. And it also allows us to maintain the bids we've already accepted. because we've already approved bids and the bids had timelines. So this allows us to maintain the promises that we have made through board action. Thank you.
So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay.
Thank you. I will let Pat know so he can put that bid out.
And I think what I'm getting from the board, it'd be nice to get some information on what their plan is.
Absolutely.
So we kind of, in case we get called about it, so we know what the kids are up to. And I know when we talked to Rick last week, when we talked to this, he said he already had some people that had some stuff planned, so.
Yep, every teacher is already, every grade level, I should say, has already put in a request for a site. And we just, now that we know we've got this plan, the last piece is to make sure that we've got the special education and the specials as far as art, music, phy-ed, and media all orchestrated so that everything is planned. But thank you for ensuring the safety of all of our students and staff. I appreciate that.
Okay. Next thing for discussion or an approval, bid approval for the high school building front of the building.
Okay, we've got the 3 bids in front of you. The pictures, do you have the picture there or not? Just before you click, number 1, extruded bricks are on windows and rest of bricks flush. This is with some of the larger panels without any extruded bricks, so no bricks sticking out. Number 2 is extruded bricks along the entire length of the front, so it matches the extruded bricks on the existing brick face walls. And number 3, no extrusion except here we've got white extruded letters. And I learned the new word extruded, obviously, because I had never extruded any bricks before, so it's just kind of cool.
Okay. Should we look at the pictures?
I don't like that facade there.
That was a picture of the board there.
Oh, I see. That's quite probably.
Go again.
This is,
That's it, that's like the all the way around.
right, that's,
one.
That was number 2.
that's number 2. That is extruded brick to match the existing, and the bricks should all be the same. They're going to try to match the die lot of the bricks that we have. So I know this looks a little more like Little Red Schoolhouse, but it will be more of the tannish, taupish bricks that we have.
Okay.
Okay, that was scenario 2. And here we've got theirs with the white extruded HHS.
That's number 3.
That's number 3. And notice there's no extrusion to match the existing building there. So it's just flat. And then the next one will be, and this one, if you can zoom in on
Oh,
this
that's
one.
the same, that's the first one.
Nope, it's not. There's a
Oh.
subtle difference. If you see in between the windows where the HHS is on the other extruded ones, that's where there are flat panels. So if we wanted to paint something there, we could paint on the brick because the bricks would be flat on those panels.
So it's about an extra $1,000 to do an extra 3,000.
To totally extrude it, yes. I don't think I'm using that
Right.
correctly. Yes. So if we have it
$4,000.
with its,
Do all across.
right, to have it totally match the existing building, it is slightly more because it costs more to extrude bricks.
And extrude just means
Pump them out.
Stick out.
Stick out.
a pattern?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm sorry, but I
three-dimensional.
couldn't see a
Oh.
pattern on any of those pictures.
Oh.
Oh,
You want to borrow the
It's
other?
like the,
really?
Yeah, I just
Oh.
all look like, they all look the same to me, except for the
Well, I
HHS.
got those.
Yeah.
They had some bricks bumping out,
Okay.
extrude, intrude.
Bricks aren't my thing.
Shall we break and look outside?
Sorry.
Corinne, is this part of the matching money from the state of Minnesota?
Yes, this will not be able to be, we can demolish, but we cannot start re-bricking until after July 1.
But it is
Yeah, it's
subject
part
to
of
the
the money.
90%, 10%.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
and we can because the ephes on the front is crumbling, and so it is taking on water.
Will the trees be removed up front?
I think some of those needed to be removed. I think they're dying.
Okay.
So we have 3 options.
So if we go with one of the ones that are lesser than the one with all the extruded brick, that gives us a $3,000 cushion to put toward, should we have to.
If a steel support is rusty and needs to be replaced or in some way fortified.
3,000 won't go very far.
Yeah,
No.
if that's the case, I don't think
3,000
the
is kind of a wash in
3,000 going very
concrete.
far.
And the reason that we don't, and this is another reason why it's good to work with UNESCO and have these plans drawn. We can't find any plans for the front of the building as it was redone. We found that the drawing, and the superintendent at the time drew it up and served as the general contractor. So we can't find any of the plans for that
So they don't know
construction.
where the steel may be.
No.
They're assuming there's steel in there, though. Not-
Well,
not block.
we do have plans for the 1957 structure, and so we know what that was. So we're assuming that structure is what they built.
Off of.
Yes.
Could you put the number 3 up there again?
Could you show him the extruded HHS? And, okay, fine, I'll stop saying the word.
It's so much fun. That was the last one.
No.
No, that was the second one. There you go. And it doesn't match the rest of the building. So it's a case where,
Warehouse.
Well, and it's gonna be tan.
it's
Not
going to
just-
be, yeah, it's going to be a cream colored brick that is bumped out.
Extruded.
I said I wasn't gonna use the word.
The red is the tan, red will be more of a tannish color.
Like our
What's
existing.
on
Can I see number 2 again?
The red's supposed to match.
And so the white
One?
won't stand out as
That's
much
right.
as it does. on
Number
the
2.
Right.
You're absolutely right, Mimi, that the.
Show me the
it-
Won't
expensive
be as
one.
noticeable.
The expensive one is the one across the top, all the same.
Right, where it totally matches the building.
You see all those little extruded things?
Extruded parts.
The bumps, the up and down
Yeah.
buildings.
Yes,
I like that one.
Now, this is where the new windows are going, right?
Correct.
yes. The new windows are going to go in exactly the same place as the old windows, otherwise it was going to increase the cost dramatically, because we would have had to rip out the inside walls too. That didn't make sense to me, so
Does anybody have a specific preference?
Well, for that, I'll move
I mean-
number 2.
That's this one, the
number
one that
2.
matches what we
Yeah, the match.
Okay, so total extrusion, total bump out?
Total extrusion. Yes, I'm really into total
Anybody
extrusion.
else have a thought?
Well,
I think that, I mean, I'm not an expert in this area, but I think making it match what's there makes sense.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion on it?
So we're not going to do anything with the HHS?
No.
I think that looks kind of funky myself.
I don't like it, but that's,
And what if we go back to making this the elementary school, and then we have to change the middle H to an E?
I think it would stay HHS, when, no matter what age of child we put in this building, because
Okay, do we have any further discussion on it, on the extrusions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Gotta be concrete.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll put some
I'm sorry,
plywood
Approval.
letters up there.
Did Gary vote against?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Approval of ventilation and DCD space removal.
Renovation.
Renovation.
We're removing
Yeah,
enough.
removing, yeah. Gran, you have more info on that?
This is the only bid received. But Mike Fry, in looking at it, thinks that it really is a very comparable and competitive bid.
Now, this is to move what, the upstairs?
It's plumbing and so forth for DCD.
It's the DCD room here in the high school.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And so it would be the high school.
I'm sorry, what's the DCD?
This has to be done anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What is DCD
This
stand
is
for?
not a choice.
This is.
We
this is
have a student that requires these facilities, right?
several students
Okay.
coming up that require these facilities.
Okay.
We have to do the bathroom in.
Well, this came
the-
up in the other paperwork, wasn't it? In that review that they did on us,
Right.
being it had to be updated.
Well, no,
No, but
we've
this
known
was-
that all along. This didn't go in the, oh, that's what your question is? Ha! This wasn't in the original bid because they weren't quite done writing it when the other one had to go in for bid, so we could hit the timelines with the elementary building. And so this is one of those secondary bids that they knew were going to be coming, but they didn't quite have it ready for January 12th bidding. So this is one of those that,
Came up later.
yep.
And
So-
where is this room gonna be? Is it gonna be
The
down there?
DCD room is going to be what used to, it's now ADSIS and the art room. The art room is becoming the special education LD room. And then what is now ADSIS, which was the old family consumer science room, is going to become the DCD and developmentally and cognitively disabled. And that will need the bathroom and the other adaptive phy-ed type space in it.
So the kitchen that's down there is getting completely removed?
The kitchen is getting almost all completely removed. On the wall between those two rooms, the room, in the DCD room, the north wall, that's the shared wall between the two rooms, there will be a stove, a sink, a refrigerator maintained so that the students who qualify for that program can get the transition life skills that they need that we haven't been able to provide really for them because we don't have that space. So we'll actually be adhering to those codes as far as making sure that we can do transitional life skills with the kids that qualify for that need.
And then is the shop getting redone as part of this whole thing too?
That's a different, because we have to move Deb Sobek out of the art room. So she needs an art room and her kiln is down. And she will be moving, so we're kind of doing a bunch of musical chairs this summer, just to make sure that everything fits.
And there's not much construction work associated with it? It's
No,
just all
other than
moving.
the abatement, because we found out our ceiling panels are 2% asbestos, so they all need to be abated. So that is something we'll need to talk about at a later time as far as our June meeting and possibly both June meetings. I will find out for sure on the 21st of March when this room is going to be sealed off. In fact, from the hallway between the old building and the new section, that will have plywood and plastic. And then we'll have plywood and plastic where we've just installed the new doors. And then there will be plywood and plastic at the far end by the science. And then this entire area will be abated for a time being. And so during that time, we will not be able to have a board meeting in here. So I'll need to find out where we need to move. It
Legion's
would
got a lot
make
of
sense. it would make sense to
Between the
move.
double doors, right outside the district office.
It would make sense to move to the choir room, but the choir room also has to be abated, so it can't be abated at the same time. That's why I've got to look at the whole schedule and see where things have to move.
Okay, so-
I'll make a motion.
So we have a motion to approve
This.
this.
So
Okay, we have a motion from Mike Lane. Second.
Second.
Second by Gary. Further discussion on this issue? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Policies for second reading.
I do want to bring your attention to the fact that policy 709 did have something added since the last time, so if you wanted to pull that one off and not approve it this time, because you have not had 2 weeks to look at that one with the changes, that would
The
be-
changes had to do with how we actually operate.
Right.
as far- So, I mean, it's not really a change, it's
It's-
just stating
Mhm.
that our drivers are held to the same standard that a driver of this, whatever
Type 3
Type
vehicle.
3 vehicle is. So we're actually just putting some, I don't know why we have to wait
That's
on
just
it.
standard language though, right?
And it's not in MSBA. However, most of the people that we have driving the Type 3 vehicle are not considered Type 3 drivers. They are driving the Type 3 vehicle as a secondary condition of employment, meaning they were hired as a para, and part of their para duty is driving this student. Or they were hired as a coach, and part of their coach duty is driving students. If we hired that coach, and he or she is driving students, they're not considered a Type 3 driver because they weren't hired just to do that. And so we're just making sure that everyone is clear that if you are operating a Type 3 vehicle, that by our definition, it's anyone transporting students in a school vehicle will be held to the high standards of a bus driver or a Type 3 vehicle driver.
Okay,
I
so-
believe we talked about this a long time ago when we approved this last time, because that was a question, and what do we do with the language? And we just kind of made an assumption that, well, they'd fall under that. But this is just, I think,
Clean it up.
cleaning that up. And I guess I would just ask, have the people who are doing this driving, are they aware of this change? So that,
As soon
and
as
Randy or whoever needs to be.
Randy and Todd are actually the two that brought it up to my attention.
Well, we
That-
talked about
yeah.
it before, but we
Yeah.
didn't do anything with the
We didn't do
language, so.
anything with it, and now that it is in the policy, then,
Gotta make sure it's taken care of.
right.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve all policies with the changes that we just discussed? Motion, second by Joe. Further discussion on it?
Was there anything, isn't policy 714, didn't you meet about that today?
Yes.
So, in terms of 714, is there anything that we need to be aware of? As there was no language change or anything, but the meeting you had earlier?
The committee decided to keep it status quo.
Okay. I
Good
just-
question.
That policy was under
Right, the
consideration
policy
by the
is,
committee.
right, and thank you for bringing that up. Because letter V and letter
Last.
IX, so it's section 5, minimum fund balance, the committee decided to keep that at 5%. And then section 9, online program risk management, and that just says we have to review this annually.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, Mike. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Did we get a second?
Yeah,
Yes,
Joe.
we did, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
New business, item for discussion and approval. We also talked about the new scoring scoreboard. So I think we have a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Joe, second by Kevin. Discussion on it?
This, both the scoreboard and the scores
The
table?
table.
Correct.
Okay.
My only question about the gut melt, and I'm all in favor of it, but just how long I know I asked that last time, but how long do we leave it up for? Just so we're all on the same, I mean, I don't want to make
Most-
anybody mad by taking it down, so people kind of know it should stay up for, and I also don't want some ratty old sign 20 years from now.
No.
Most
Take
of
it
the
down.
time, it's a 10-year.
So that's what we're assuming, is the 10-year, okay. So, and we'll document that somewhere, put a
Mhm.
Post-it note on the back.
Yeah.
Until
Do
Randy.
not take it down until.
Put a little extra
Year.
glue on it, it'll be good.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for helping raise the funds for that.
Mhm.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? B, MNBA cohort dates?
These actually came from committee, and we worked through them to make sure that it was going to provide enough time for parents to enroll, but also for staff to make sure that the students are placed in classes with a teacher, and the teacher has a chance to reach out to the new students. The reason there's a difference in cohort 1 and cohort 4, those are the starts of semesters, and the part-time enrollments don't come in until after the first day of school, because the kids get to their resident district and realize, I don't like this class, I want to take an online one. And we get inundated by school counselors that have kids that want to take online supplemental classes.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the MNBA cohort dates?
So moved.
Motion by Mimi, you have a second?
Second.
Second by Gary. Further discussion? Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Announcements or any events?
Announcement, Gwen Rosted received Minnesota Department of Ed 2016 Finance Award again. Oh, the district received it, but let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
Good
Gwen
job.
received it. But thank you.
You shall be extruded.
Whoa!
Okay, moving right along.
Set forward, yes.
If she wants.
Good job, Gwen.
But yeah,
Thank you.
it just once again speaks well of the job that she's doing here.
Okay, anything else? Okay. Meeting and committee updates? I know we had finance committee meeting. Joe, you got anything?
You go, whatever. Well, we talked about well, I wasn't there at the very end, so I'll have to let you guys talk about that, but we talked about the, fund balance percentage.
We're a little over 7% right now.
Yeah, and which document is that in? It's on I was gonna reference the policy it's a part of, and
Policy 714.
thank you, fund balances. So we're at about 7%, and what's in the policy is 5% is what it's at right now. So we talked about whether we thought we needed to change that or not, and came to the conclusion we think 5% is sufficient at this point.
And also, if we find out that the front of the building does need work, we have a little wiggle room in our fund balance to maybe do a beam or two.
I think if I'm not mistaken, that policy had a number that we never hit before.
Right. Which
So
is-
now we
yeah.
are in compliance with the policy with a cushion, which just seems like a better way to do policy.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. And the other, do you want to talk about the?
No, not really else. So the main thing was that, so we were discussing
Okay.
the 2 points that were brought up earlier on the policy, if we had to change anything, and we didn't, so. Okay.
Mr. Chair. Just like to, in the superintendent's update, I was glad to see the mention of Hiawatha Valley Ed and some of the things we're doing there, which I'm very happy about as well. But I would like to clarify one issue in there. It was stated there was late notice to the principals. That really doesn't appear to be the case when I checked in on it. There was a notification last December. There's been multiple notifications since then and reminders. So, and our principals don't regularly attend. So that's something we may want to think about, since I think that's kind of an important thing.
And the late notification, it probably was my fault as far as saying I would really like somebody to go there, and that was the day before. And so when on
Are they on the
Wednesday.
list by the
No,
email?
but that's not your job, Grin.
Are they on the
I
list?
don't want to, I
Yes.
really, I didn't
They're
bring
on
that
the-
up to try and put any blame on you at all, because they're notified independently that that's the principals' meetings, and they should take that initiative to go. And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thanks for bringing that up, Karen.
And then as far as future agenda items, typically in April, we talk about the possibility of putting people on unrequested leave if we have to have dig into the tenured staff to make sure that we're not overstaffed for the next year. And we know we will have to do that this year. Last year we did not, but this year we will have to. However, since the reductions are all based on enrollment projections, we don't technically have to inform until July 1, which is too late with the timeline that they have to be able to respond and all of that before July 1. So in looking at it, instead of doing that at the first meeting in April when we typically would do it, I am proposing that we do it at the first meeting in May, and that way we actually, with enrollments, re-enrollments are open now. Let's look at how those re-enrollments are going to see if we actually have to reduce as much as I'm planning on. So if those enrollments start coming in and are looking much stronger than they have in the past, we don't have to go as deep. So that's.
Is the timeline the same for probationary staff as tenured?
No, probationary staff, we will, what I'm suggesting is to do the same thing in the April or in the May meeting. Typically, you have done the first meeting in June as far as non-renewing the probationary.
Right.
Non-renewal of probationary is very different than unrequested leave of tenured staff. But it's a case where, because we have been in growth mode for so long, we have not had to put anyone on unrequested leave for a long time. But there is that past history of taking the probationary staff, especially the online probationary staff, and just saying, due to unforeseen or uncertain enrollments, you're not renewing your contract.
So you're moving that earlier.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. And the tenured, because we just haven't had to do it. But I know that those of you that have had, we've got people with a long history on the board, and you would be saying, hold on a second, we're supposed to do this in April. I wanted to explain to you why we're moving it to May, because I'm really hoping that re-enrollment goes well.
Okay. Is there anything else? Okay. At this time, we're going to go into closed session, pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05, to discuss performance evaluation of the superintendent. And we'll come back after that into open meeting and discuss the evaluation numbers and. She's dire.
Town meeting notes.
There you go, that's something.
So do we have a motion to, oh, we have, we'll go back to open, right? Did that?
Motion.
Second?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Joe, you seconded?
Me? Okay, whatever.
Kevin?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we just finished evaluation discussion with superintendent. Overall, score between 1 and 4. We overall rating of a 3, which is accomplished, meaning that she's accomplished everything we expect her to do. There's some items that we're still working on for 2017 that will roll into goals for next year. overall as a group, we've felt that Corinne has actually overachieved what we expected her to do in the time that she's been here. We look forward to working with her, talking to her again, and keeping her around for quite a while, so. Does anybody have any other inputs?
When are you gonna develop the next round of goals?
I think we need to wait a while, we're a little goal
Well,
shy.
I mean, you can't work on a goal if you don't
we,
get it rolled out.
We will take these goals that we haven't, that are open yet, and continue
with
those,
them.
and we'll tweak them a little bit with what's been accomplished. and
New
what we-
timelines and so
New
forth.
timelines and stuff. And then the next step, we'll have to talk to Corinne about negotiations coming up as far as setting up her contract again. So she knows where she, we have to have a timeline on that. We should probably do that sooner than later, because we have some other, I think yours is coming up this year, and also we have one other.
Local 70.
Local 70.
I thought we just did that.
We did.
But we're in arrears.
We were in definite arrears, so now they need to start their cycle.
So let's set up some time when works for everybody, for us to start negotiating with you and with them. I think they already requested something, didn't they?
They've
Local
already
70?
requested, they just need to know if you want to start, so it can, if you wanted to start during the school year or wait until summer.
I think you ought to do them separately and do
Yeah.
friends first.
We'll do yours first, and then we'll do theirs. And there's, I don't know how much we can talk about it, we'll maybe have a pre-meeting.
Okay.
But let's set up some time for you first,
Okay.
okay? Okay, so, we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Second by Rob. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
When do you want to leave? Chris?